Welcome to Religiously Incorrect. I'm Pastor Todd, and
I'm Pastor Jeff.
And we are in, what episode is this? Episode 4?
Episode 4.
Episode number 4. We want to thank all of our listeners, all of our listeners, all of our viewers. If you follow us on Facebook or YouTube or Spotify, Apple Music, whatever is the platform of your choice, please make sure you share our podcast, like and share, comment, tag. Be sure to follow us and subscribe on YouTube. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Please, please, please share.
Now, Jeff, let's jump right in, man, because we got a great subject we're going to talk about, but let's jump right in, man. I'm just going to say 3 words to you, and you tell me what you think. You only get 3 words. You understand? 3 words.
3 words.
Kanye's Sunday service.
She wants the money when I'm in need.
Wait a minute.
Boy, she's a gold digger.
Wait a minute. That's not even. You could have said Jesus walks. You ain't saved, man.
Well, you know, honestly, just to be honest with you, man, I have seen it, and I've seen all the posts that have been going up, and you know, for me, especially since we are religiously incorrect, I think that there's been a big deal made.
Big deal.
Out of something that should not have been that big of a deal.
You think it's not a big deal?
I don't think it's a big deal because of the simple fact that, you know, this has been going on biblically. When you talking about an assassin killer writing half the Bible.
Yeah.
When you talking about,
his name was Saul.
Come on, somebody. When you talking about an adulterous king looking out windows.
Yeah, looking out windows, man.
Pulling somebody else's wife in and having them married. Come on, somebody.
And he sang all them songs.
Mm-hmm. When you're talking about, we can go on and on. Abraham being a liar.
Yeah.
You know, from Genesis to Revelations, you have these type of individuals. Matter of fact, if I could probably be so blunt as to say, you will never find a major man in the Bible who didn't have a messed up life.
Wow. You're absolutely correct. But who's to say at this point in time he has a messed up life? We really don't know. This man could have stopped doing everything. He could have, you know, all the moral stuff that pastors and Christians say matter. You know, he's doing. I don't know exactly what he's doing so sinful at this point that disqualifies him from getting up and singing a song and testifying, which is basically what he's doing.
Absolutely.
He's singing and testifying. People keep talking about him being a pastor. He's nobody's pastor.
I don't think so.
He's just an itinerant minister at this point. It's like anybody else. Okay, you took it to the Bible. Let me take it somewhere else. He's not the first R&B or soul singer to go gospel.
Come on.
Al Green. Mm-hmm. Okay, Aretha Franklin's been back and forth. You know, Little Richard gave up. I'm not joking. This serious. Little Richard gave up rock and roll for a while and said he was only going to sing for the Lord and serve the Lord with some bright purple sequin booty pants on.
Well, I mean, but you got he's
not the first.
Mason Betha.
Is he?
He was.
I heard it was just like a ploy to get, like, cause some people was after him, so he just said he was.
It could be, but then
he went back though.
But you have
back.
Montel Jordan.
Is
an actual preacher now.
Yeah, MC Hammer. Hammer, he did. He was on TBN, man.
Hammer's still selling those rental spoons for Rental
points. Well, all I'll say is, you know, I was on the fence because I'm a traditionally minded person, and my first inclination was to condemn and talk about how the church just will open up to anybody in the world, and because of his stardom, they'll give him a place. And, you know, but at the end of the day, I hate to sound like the cliche, but, you know, God knows what kind of work has been done in his life, and I trust that it has been. My only fear or reservation, and I think it's a fair one to myself, is that just because someone is famous doesn't mean they should have the opportunity to put on spectacle. Or the spectacle could actually end up being detrimental to their spiritual life, because you think like there should be some escape or some time of just plain Jane church membership.
Absolutely.
But then again, maybe if you're in that position, it's impossible to just be another basic. Who knows?
It is impossible, and it literally brings me back to after Deion Sanders had decided to change over, and he had, start going to all these churches and giving his testimony and things of that nature. I think we have to be very careful, because just because you've been touched does not qualify you to teach.
That is.
There are oftentimes where you need to sit down.
Just because you've been touched.
And relax.
Is he teaching though?
I don't know. I haven't watched it. I haven't watched it.
The short answer is no. The man is just testifying and singing.
Okay.
So, how many times have we had somebody just get up and want to testify and sing a song in our church?
Sunday.
We've all had it, right? That's why I got a whole row of deacons to block people who want to testify and sing randomly. And a lot of times the people who are the fresh, they're the most excited ones who.
Absolutely.
But then again, this is all, let's just be clear. This is planned, organized. He's organizing choirs. The music is slamming.
It is.
That sometimes remake. I do watch like when he's doing the Sunday service. Of course, you'll call me judgmental, but it feels like the spectacle has kind of taken over the church for that day, and it's not really worship, and everybody just has their phones out.
Absolutely.
And people will judge, well, you don't know what worship is, but I'm kind of like, the whole congregation is just standing there and watching while he puts on his, and I don't know how much of the service it takes up, because I haven't seen.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. When I went to your concert last year, I started to take my phone out, and I looked around.
Everybody.
And everybody had that's
a whole other subject. Yeah, the phone culture
you're missing out on the essence of what's happening.
Right.
Even when you get it on your phone and you record it, everybody else is watching. But when you get home, it's not the same feeling.
Oh yeah.
It's not the same feeling.
I think that's an excellent thing to hit on some other day. But today, we're talking. Here's our overarching theme for the next few sessions: members only.
Members.
Did you ever own a members only jacket?
No.
I'm taking some notes. Did you ever own a members only jacket?
I didn't. I had a Malcolm X jacket with the big X on the back.
Wow. You had a Malcolm X jacket?
It was leather.
I didn't.
I had a troop jacket with all the different colors. Mike, you had a troop jacket, didn't you?
I had a cross colors.
Oh, the Thriller.
You had the real was it the real Thriller, like the pleather joint from Ames?
From Two Guys.
It was the fruit roll up.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, here's the first thing we want to talk about. We talked in the very first episode about religion in general. Mm-hmm. We want to specifically talk about church membership.
Right.
And I think everybody is sort of across the board, besides religion being unimportant, the corresponding issue that would come up, Jeff, is that membership has dropped. Commitment has dropped. I just saw a statistic out there that says your most committed members now are coming like 2.5 times a month. Mm-hmm. Your most committed members are coming about 2.5 times a month. Everybody is hurting in the membership. And I don't want to just keep having the same conversation. I'm not trying to dog nobody, but I do feel like we keep simplifying the conversation almost to like really elementary, like childish stuff. And I'm not saying the issue's childish, but just the way we keep reverting back to, well, everybody judgmental and we're hypocrites and da-da-da-da. And it just kind of go to the stereotypes, with the preacher wasn't stealing all the money, they'd have more members. Let's go beyond that, you know what I mean? And go, why do you think church membership, committed engagement, every single week attendance, giving liberally, all that stuff. We're pastors, to keep it real.
Absolutely.
Why has it been on a downswing across the board? What do you think?
There's so many, we can answer this and literally talk about this all day. I used to work with some people, and they would make fun and call it EOAs. The EOA members. It's every other Sunday.
Every other Sunday.
Every other Sunday members. And I truly believe a lot of it has to do with people. And truth be told, I don't even think they watch it, but they believe that they could just sit at home and do the TV.
So do you really think the TV thing has really undercut membership?
I don't. But I know that's going to be the saying.
That's what people are going to say.
That's the justifiable
Everyone's saying because it's online.
I can watch TV. I can watch it online. And
I think it started to dip before that stuff, though.
It could have, but I do believe that they think, for some reason, that TD Jake's ministry don't have the issues that our church has, when in actuality, they have just as many. They have just as many, and probably more. We have people who solve problems. They have problem solver teams,
Right.
crisis teams, crisis
Right.
management teams. We might have one of our assistant pastors or one of our associate pastors
Right.
try to take. They have whole teams because of the problems that they have.
Oh, and they strategize. They take a look at numbers and demographics and trends and all that kind of stuff to see what has, why, what they can do to try to, turn that around. And there is some competitiveness there. I mean, there is some, let's just be honest, it's not just small church problems, like you said, it's big church problems. They start looking at, who's getting who's got the fad, who's on the upswing, who might be pulling for me and all that kind of stuff. So you're right, it is across the board. And it's not just the 60-member church,
Absolutely.
it's the 1,600-member and the 16,000-member church.
And I believe, me personally, it all comes down to selfishness.
So Jeff, you were saying that you think it's really a function of selfishness. Unpack that a little bit.
A function of selfishness. As far as, people, I've heard many times, that I work all day. Sunday is my only day off.
Sunday's my day. That's
Sunday
it.
is my only
I
day
gotta clean
off.
my house.
Yeah, I gotta do the. It was watching a football game yesterday, and they was talking about when Keenan and Kyle had the Sunday as the Tide Day. You got to wash your clothes on Sunday.
Right.
Selfishness in that aspect. Selfishness in the fact that, truth be told, that they really just don't believe that it's doing them any good.
You could be right. Let me play with the selfishness part a little bit. We have become less and less communal as a people, particularly in the African American church. We have lost a sense of community and communalism, if you want to call it that. The idea of shared connection and shared ideals, and we won't be able to survive without the other. We need this. And I think we often forget that besides traditions, besides, even our spiritual convictions, there was just a sense that as a people, we need to be together and do something. And this world we've engaged in has started to remove that from us if we started to adopt, what's the one line in Lift Every Voice and Thing? Lest our heart stray from the path where we met the, it's kind of happened.
Oh, yeah.
And, all over culturally, socially, the idea of commitment and covenant completely has been diminished. We've gone from being a committed people, covenant people, to being a consumeristic people.
Absolutely.
And now we consume, and when you're consumeristic, it's whatever is good and working for me right now. And as soon as it stops working for me right now, then I'll jump to the next thing. And even if this thing is not working poorly or not functioning, or it's functioning poorly, if I see something better, I'll just jump to that. So we might not have necessarily less people who claim to be Christians, but we have less people who are committed as members to a church.
Well, and then you have the what's the name of the church here on Elm Road? And I know y'all might, a lot of y'all might not know it, but the church right off Elm Road, the big church, Believers, where they trying to do a Saturday night.
Yeah,
to make
they've
up
done,
for
some
Sunday
people have
morning.
done Saturday night services.
And I don't know if that's the answer, the key, but the fact of the matter is, especially when we're discussing right now selfishness, is funny to me, and I believe it's amazing that you work Monday through Saturday, and maybe even Sunday, but you still found time to make it to the club.
You still find time.
Saturday night.
Yeah.
That your work schedule didn't interfere with that.
Well, here's a good question since you've been bringing this up, because we've been talking about services. Does attendance equal membership?
No. So
how does someone prove their membership? How does someone maintain it? We all know churches have different rules and all, but if it's not just about attendance, then what do you call a good member, man? What do you call a good, be a pastor. What do you call a good member?
Well, first of all, I'll say this. Longevity does not equal loyalty.
Okay, I got you.
So you have, truth be told, there are some people who have been there all their life. Some, let's put it like this. Their cancer can be there a long time trying to kill you.
Okay.
So, just because they've been there and just because they show up does not make them good members.
I feel you.
There's
Is it fair though to lay out? Like, let me just give you a list. All right. If you'd ask me, man, what makes a good member? I say, hey, I want to see you at least 3 times a month. You should be tithing, engaged in a ministry, supportive of your church, speaking positively of the house, and evangelistically of your faith.
Okay.
And I would say that makes for a good member. That's Pastor Todd's definition of a good member. I know people need to take off, but I mean, remember, a lot of us, I was raised every Sunday. I can count on my hand the number of Sundays I missed like pretty much my entire life. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a PK, but there's still a lot of core people out there like that, man. Doors are open, they're there. So to me, I'm like, is it fair to even have a list and put a definition on it? Like, hey, this is what it is
I think
to
it is
be a
fair.
member.
I think it's fair. I think it's fair because I think that whenever you join something, you ought to know the expectations of what you're joining.
There it is. There's an expectation of being a part of anything.
Everybody is not like you, Pastor Todd. I love you with all my heart, but when you go on vacation, you go to church. I ain't going to church.
Probably. But how often do you go to vacation, though? I mean, how often? We're not talking about when you have to leave and go on vacation. I'm talking about you down the street, man.
Right. And I mean, but
I will go to church.
Right.
On the
cruise
ship.
I see you on Facebook. I'm like,
what kind of vacation is this?
Vacation. But
like this cruise ship got a chapel.
but I think when we give these people,
y'all got a B3 in this beach. I'm sorry.
When they join the church, if you give the expectations from the beginning, and that doesn't mean that they're going to follow them.
Right.
That does not mean that they're going to come just because you said, we thank you for joining this church. We expect you to see you at Bible study. We expect you to give faithfully. We expect you to, come in, learn, get in where you fit in, find the ministry that fits you and fits your personality and begin working in it, because we know that once you get something and you get in the church and you find out where you fit in, it causes you to be more faithful to the church. Those things help you help you come out more. But the fact of the matter is, truth be told, some people don't join the church for that. People join churches for various reasons.
They join churches because?
Some people join churches because they felt emotional that day.
Okay.
The service had them emotional. So for that day, they became a member that day.
That day.
You might not take, for example, a funeral service.
Oh, yeah, you can get some.
You'll get 10 people to join the church from the funeral service.
13 people got saved at this funeral.
And you'll never see them again.
Right.
You'll never see them again because it's emotional.
It's a moment.
So we can't.
Maybe it's a moment of impact. Maybe it's a spiritual moment of impact, but it's like the seed that was growing up for a minute, and then something came and choked it out, or, smoked it out, whatever.
Right.
I got you. So it's a moment. What else? What other reasons people join church?
People join churches. People join churches because this is the church their whole family went to.
It's about time I just go on ahead and join.
Yeah,
Wife been getting on me about joining.
That's right.
Everybody asks me when I'm gonna start coming.
And so now your name is on the roll, but your heart is far from it.
I agree.
So
I agree. And what you just said about everybody that hears the expectations might not follow them, the biggest indicator or I guess the impactor of that is we say this stuff like, hey, I expect you to be a Bible study. And we could be in a room with 200 people and they be like, yeah, amen. And then they'll come to Bible study. They'll come to Bible study on Wednesday. It'll be like 13 people there. And they'll be like, well, this ain't that important to anybody. It's like,
true.
You're like, well, what's not just the expectations of the people who are coming in fresh, but what is the membership expectation and devotion to those who have been there for a good while? And then how does that impact what we see? Because we know momentum shifts people together. And when the momentum's not there, then that casual, apathetic sort of, you just get in a routine. And a lot of people, like you said, the selfishness, such a harsh word to use, but it just feels like that's the word we're using right now. What's working for me right now?
Absolutely.
This is enough. Twice a week, twice a month. I literally
say no names to bear no blames, but I literally saw somebody the other day on Facebook, not one of my members, not one of your members, but a member of a church.
Wasn't any of ours.
Any of ours. I saw a member of a church who said, is such and such going on down in the park? Is such and such going on down in the park? And their pastor responded, no, but there's Bible study.
Right.
But there's Bible study.
There's Bible study going on tonight.
It's like.
And how much do we call that out and just say, You know what you've committed to. And I like how you said, here's what we kind of miss, because we keep separating faith and religion and whether you know God or not with the commitment and the attachment you've made with the church that's looking for you to be a part of its daily life. So there becomes like this almost defensiveness if anybody actually says, hey, I expect you to be here. Hey, I've missed you. Or just preaching, we're preachers. We get up and say, right. You ought to be in church. You need to be in Bible study. The reason we have some of the problems we have or have not made some of the progress we should make is because we're not as faithful to our membership commitments, and it could be giving. Hey, we could have accomplished a lot more if we were all giving. Right. Hey, we could be having these ministries flowing if people were volunteering and engaged. Or, the church would be seeing more fruit and more harvest if we were out evangelizing, if we were being healthy members. And by the way, when we talk about membership, since we say it's not just attendance, it's not just a butt in a pew.
Right.
It's not just it's about a full engagement with that local assembly that has a specific mission and vision and endeavor within its context.
What other organization can you say that you're committed to and never show up? What marriage?
And how do they deal with you?
Well, how do they? You say you get married on Sunday and don't come back till next Sunday.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
But the church is different, Jeff, because Jesus loves everybody, so it's not like those other organizations. I'm just
right.
playing.
I'm just playing devil's
advocate now.
And that's one of the biggest problems, because we tend to talk.
But Jesus doesn't judge me by my membership.
Right, but this is what I'm saying. We tend to talk about faith as the substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. Yes. And so since God doesn't literally step off of his throne and come down and say, I need you to be at service on Wednesday, I need you to come to choir rehearsal on Thursday.
We get no letters.
Right. So since they don't say that, and we as pastors, once again, like you said, we don't send out letters.
I do have some letters.
Yeah. But how many people actually, if we be honest, how many people actually, if you ask them how many are in your church, they'll give you how many are on their roll.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can tell you my roll.
But not how many are on their church.
I won't tell you on it, yeah. And we already we'll talk numbers one day. Numbers, that just burns me up. Because I feel like, for us who are in ministry, we definitely fudge the numbers a whole lot to make ourselves feel better. Or we're on the other end of the spectrum where we're just like totally depressed and complaining all the time because, man, these folks ain't coming. They don't let the Lord, nobody
we are
wants to
the
hear
patriots of church.
Listen. Right.
We will fudge the ball.
Right.
As far as we can fudge it.
Yeah, cheat. But no, so is it really like any other organization, or are we required? And I guess none of us started this. We just live within it now.
Right.
Should the church have ever had this organizational structure that has these expectations for people? I know we find a couple of scriptures that talk about the church meeting daily, giving regularly, supplying every need, stepping into their roles. I think we can all pretty honestly and confidently say it doesn't look exactly like what we have called church now. But I do, and I used this scripture last year in our theme for 2018 at our church. If you do make a vow, whatever the nature or substance of that vow is, you should keep it.
Absolutely.
And I tried to preach and teach that, hey, if this is not something you're going to keep the vow of, then don't make the vow, because God doesn't hold you to a vow that you don't make.
Absolutely.
But I told some people who have different even beliefs than what our church believes. When you got up here and shook my hand, I read to you what our beliefs were and what we expect out of you. And you said, yes, sir, shook my hand. And to me, we're too flippant about entering into things, period.
Absolutely.
Now, would the church stand for a slower flow of people if they were more stable people? Or do we help to perpetuate this problem by taking everybody at their first word without any time of proving, without any further questioning?
Well, one of the things,
because even these new membership classes are pretty wild. I mean, they're not coming here and sit down and listen.
Truth be told, I appreciate them. I appreciate you for doing, because at least, there are many churches who, like you said, as soon as you join, you have the full rights of every, and we'll get into this in our next segment. You have the full rights
and
privileges of every member as much as somebody who's been here 80 years.
Right.
And so now they've joined on Sunday, you ain't gonna see them 2 years down the road, but they still want the full rights of that person who been there 80 years, because this is what you
connection, or just the connection, just the idea that I'm connected. But less and less people, honestly, I am some people's pastor, but Second Baptist is not their church.
Talk about that.
That's real. They follow me religiously on Facebook. They like what they see me doing, what they see that God has led me to do and say, whether it's ministry related, community minded, the messages impact them. God has drawn them in some frame or fashion. I definitely attribute that to the Lord and the Holy Spirit, if that is a genuine pull. Then there are going to be people who are going to be more flippant. And I just said this the other week, and you can call it controversial if you want to. I won't put myself in this category, but some of these people that they're watching, because it's a watching, and just like anything else you watch, you're only getting the best view of them. You're getting the stage view, the Hollywood view. Some people, and I'll just say this honestly, especially females, are more in love with the man. They got a crush on the dude. They just think he represents the ideal. He speaks smoother than anybody else. How you think preachers always had these problems with women? Speaks smoother than anybody else, dressed to the nines, looks like he's living the life. Everything he says works for him, and everything's supposed to work for them. And they are not committed to the cause of Christ.
Absolutely.
They're not evangelizing the gospel. Now, there's a difference between how many people can I get to watch this video with me, and how many people have I led to Christ because I taught them the gospel, because I received it from that person. So I'm saying there are people who follow me and want nothing to do with being a part of my church.
Oh, definitely.
There are people. Let's go over the railroad tracks. I don't want to make another issue out of it, but they appreciate the clean, articulate young black man who's making a difference, but they might be Caucasian and ain't about to come over to the Black Baptist Church. There are people who like to hear the 20-minute clips or the 2-minute clips I'm putting up on Facebook, might like to follow my lives, but they're not about to sit through a whole hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, and we've shortened it. You can't shorten it enough for people that just don't want to be there. I mean, that's just a whole other thing. So we live within that context locally and internationally, where there are people who will never see the connection, and I think they miss out on the blessing. They miss out on the growth, the development. Because why? I don't want to be up in that church because, I know all the mean things about the church and, they hurt my feelings. Some people might even be impacted by their family, friends, grandparents, parents who served in the church and got hurt, and I don't want to end up like them. Absolutely. I don't want to spend my whole life up under some man or woman. Right. So...
And it happens true. Subsequently on both sides. On both sides it happens. For me, especially having a smaller church, a smaller congregation, they'll love me. They'll love listening to my messages. But, I'm not going to that old Baptist. I'm not going to listen to them sing Down at the Cross.
Right. I love Down at the Cross. I wish everybody loved it as much as I do. But put it this way, if everybody loved it as much as I do, they would have a totally different idea about it, because we'd be giving it the same energy we give, Fred Hammond in Israel and whatnot. But anyway, I digress.
So it's really sad that, some people just won't come, and it's for certain reasons. There's a lot of different reasons, but I guess the question is, how do we get them to get past those innuendos? How do we get them to say, how do we get them to say, I am going to be committed to this ministry? If it isn't the new members classes, and a lot of people will say, the pastor just isn't friendly. Well, this pastor has 300 members to concern himself with. He can't just be
very
friendly
difficult.
to you.
Oh, it's very, trust me, our church is a little large, one of the largest, black congregations in the area. And that doesn't mean it's huge, but it's difficult to know everybody and get to know everybody and be as personable as you'd like to be. You're going to miss out on people. Honestly, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Absolutely.
And so if you get called more or text more or informed more about certain people, or they come in your face and a little bit more friendly, you're probably going to hear or see them.
But coincidentally, and that's that.
These people who watch on TV don't know you at all. They're not calling you at all.
But what you have in the church, maybe with 300 members, or with me having a church with 60 or 70 members, it's still very difficult, because now I know all of them. So I'm expected.
You're expected.
I'm expected to be at every baseball game, every,
bar mitzvahs,
all of it. And, every hospital visit, and I still got a job. I still got a wife. I still got a son. I can't be at everything.
Right.
And most of it is because you don't have your own relationship with Jesus.
Right.
So you want to have a relationship with the pastor.
That is true. That's true. How many people don't really find their place or don't feel like they have a place in the church, and that's why they never actually become full-fledged members?
Oh, it's I think it's overwhelming. I think I've read a statistic that if they don't find their place within the first 3 months, they're leaving. They're leaving.
That could be true.
And so, we do these things and we say, let's close the back door on ministry and let's do this. But it's a lot easier said than done.
Oh, it's almost an impossible task. Mm-hmm. I want to ask you one last question before we end this part of the segment. As a pastor, you've been through this. You have pastored several congregations. You've kind of been through. We've walked beside each other in ministry.
Absolutely.
How does it make you feel personally when you see people that you wish would be members and they're always on the edge, or you see them out and about, and how does it make you feel personally when you see that lack of engagement?
Personally, it's one of the hardest things you and us as pastors we very seldomly talk about it. We very seldomly talk about it. When you have family members who don't go anywhere and who will always tell you how great of a job you're doing, but won't show up.
Oh my.
It's
Listen,
extremely.
There have been times when I just wanted to see cousin so-and-so or auntie so-and-so. I'm like, we've been going to church all our life. Just stop by and see me one time. I would just love to see your face. But that's close relationship. Then there are good people. I don't think people really think we're concerned about their souls, because maybe we talk about everything but the soul, honestly, in ministry.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I am genuinely concerned about people's souls and the lives that they can enjoy if they embraced and engaged in regular church fellowship. Absolutely. I look at good, talented, gifted people with anointings on their lives, and often they're playing them out somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Maybe they're coaching the kids. Maybe they're volunteering at some organization. Maybe they give back through the schools. And I'm like, man, not only do they need the church, but the church needs them. Yes. And it hurts all of us for you not to be part. And I'm talking about people who claim Judeo-Christian values. These are not people who are like, yeah, I serve my community, but I'm not into that Jesus thing. I'm talking about people who are posting scriptures, enjoying our videos. They plug in once in a while. And I love them and would love them. And I'm not, it's hard because we are all guilty of coming off this way like we're just looking for more people, or we're just trying to snag a few more recruits, or we're just trying to make our ministries look better. But there is a genuine a shepherd's concern is souls. Yes. Personally, there's still a personal, natural flesh side, and it's carnal. You can call it what it is. This is religiously incorrect. Let's be incorrect.
Yes. It
hurts your feelings sometimes.
It does.
That am I not good enough? You get stuck in comparison. You get stuck in low self-esteem.
Oh yeah.
I am nowhere near that. Praise God, never have been. But
we are not suicidal.
Lord help
We're
me.
not
Do
suicidal
not write me
here.
any letters.
Please don't
send me no
psychiatrists.
Right.
We don't need to be on Dr. Phil up in here.
Don't send me no
we
pills.
Cool. We talk to each other.
But these guys are serious. I mean, they have dealt with the pressure just like a businessman deals with pressure, just like a sports person deals with pressure. Our calling happens to be our occupation, or at least part of it. And you want to perform well. And by the way, the enemy can pervert your desire to please God turning into a personal offense when you feel like you're not measuring up. And often the people being there and receiving and being a part of it are your measuring stick.
Absolutely.
They really are. It's not, I don't go in the back and say, how much did we get this week? I don't do any of that. But if I keep seeing people at the supermarket that I know desperately need this gospel, desperately need the fellowship, desperately need the connection, and they haven't achieved it, sometimes I wonder, I know I'm everywhere. I know I'm all over Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and you are too. And my other pastor friends, and sometimes I get frustrated, not that they're not at Second Baptist, but some of them aren't anywhere. And I'm like, go somewhere. So it's not just, I want you up in my house. Like if I knew you were somewhere, the honest part of me would kind of be like, oh man, I kind of wish you'd be, but if God's will, nobody wants to hear that. But the honest thing is, yeah, man, hey, you good at this and you can love the Lord and I could use somebody like you on my team.
Don't nobody want to say that.
Nobody wants to say.
You be better on my team than you are on a team.
Jeff,
let's just be honest.
Have you ever had somebody announce that they joined somebody else's church and you had a little twinkle? You had a little Listen, are we really religiously incorrect enough now? You're like, man, I love that dude. Oh, he been knowing me for years. He visited me for 3 weeks and then said, I could be 1,000. We're human, man.
We are human.
We're human.
We are human.
So the membership issue, like any pastor / CEO / manager, you want to do well. You want that church body to grow and be healthy. You want God to be pleased, and you want ministry to be effective. So membership is important. It's not nearly as important as your soul being saved. But once your soul is saved, I always say, every person who knows God ought to have a church.
Find a good home.
Ought to have a good church home. So that's our first little segment. We look forward to coming back. We're going to unpack
God
this
bless
membership thing a little bit more.
Got some more to talk about.
Religiously incorrect.
Welcome back to Religiously Incorrect,
Welcome
Part
back.
4. We thank you for being with us. Please look us up, share it, Facebook, Twitter, all of that.
YouTube, iHeart Radio,
MySpace,
Black
all
Planet.
of it. All of it.
Netscape, Morse code,
Netflix,
right?
Pages, Sky Pages,
two-way.
We have been having a wonderful time. I'm Pastor Stanford.
This is Pastor Todd. I don't have a last name.
We are excited to have you here with us. We have been talking about members only.
Members only.
But before we get there, we must talk about season 3 or
Week 3.
week 3.
Week 3.
Of the football season.
NFL football. Jeff is the Browns fan.
I am the Browns.
I am a member of Steeltown.
The basement team of the
Hey, the quarterback is dead. Didn't they cut his arm
The
off?
quarterback was dead last year. He been dead for 3 years. He just been still running.
I'm gonna say this before Ben got hurt. When I saw him try to take off and run on this one play, and he was like lumbering like O.J. Simpson with bad knees, I said he's done. He's done. Because if the elbow didn't hurt him, and I think he knew it. I think this elbow stuff is made up. I think if the elbow injury thing went, he was gonna get cracked.
Oh, somebody was gonna hit him
because he can't even move at this point. I mean, he was not moving well.
Well, and to echo on that, the problem I'm having is that we've got the defense opening up like the Red Sea,
man,
and Baker Mayfield ain't running through it. I'm like, come on, dude, run the ball. Let me just make it real plain and real clear here.
That was bad play
if
calling.
you are on the 5-yard line, and your running back is rushing for 4 yards per carry.
Come on, man.
You give him the
math.
ball. I mean, that's
3
simple
times.
math. 3 times, and you gonna get in there.
His name is Faker Mayfield.
Oh my
Baker
God.
Mayfield.
Faker Mayfield.
I think he's too jumpy. He keeps jumping out of the pocket too. I don't know if he's ready for prime time, man. What?
Well, that the problem is he's jumping out of the back. He's running out of the back, but he's running sideways instead of forward.
Instead of forward, that's true.
And
Because he had an open lane.
Right,
One
he
play,
got
two.
a couple plays. He got some wheels.
Right.
He has a good arm as long as he's throwing off his back foot. When he on the move,
It's bad.
it's Faker Mayfield all day.
Well,
And he
listen.
needs
And
to
your boy
stop it.
Rudolph and your boy Rudolph is gonna pass him up in a little bit.
You think
Just
so?
watch it.
You think
yeah.
Rudolph? Now,
Watch and see what I tell you.
I hope that Rudolph catches up. I would like to see the Steelers put together a respectable season that's at least like 500. It ain't looking good right now at 0-3. But let's just be honest. The Browns, who'd y'all beat? The Jets?
Beat the Jets.
You beat the Jets, and they had like a 5th-string quarterback in themselves. They pulled this cat out of a cab or something.
But let's just take it to another level, because honestly, we were supposed to get murdered. We were supposed to get murdered yesterday by the Rams.
Y'all playing with them.
most of our defense out, but it wasn't our defensive fault. It wasn't, because the defense played a great job.
Yeah,
they did a great job.
They did. And I mean, the first half of the Steelers, I consider garbage, because you don't have 4 turnovers in one half and only come away with 6 points, especially when you're in the red zone.
Absolutely.
Second half, I feel like they played valiantly against a very good team. You know, that the 49ers got their stuff together, but Pittsburgh came up short. As long as they're not getting blown out and, crazy, you got to take your L's, man. I mean, we are on a downswing. We got to take our L's. And again, me and you, thankfully, not just friends, but respectful people, we going to do our ragging and joking and stuff, man. But I don't hate. People are like, I hate. I'm going to kill all the Steelers fans I know. And like 4 days later, they're talking about, I'm like, it is what it is.
I will say this. Next week is going to be, because if y'all lose to Cincy.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. You know what keeps me sleeping at night? The fact that Le'Veon Bell is losing and AB is out of the league.
Yeah.
Because it would have been worse if Le'Veon was running over people.
He still is running over
AB
people.
Yeah, but he's not winning. So, he was running over people in Pittsburgh too and then holding out and then saying everybody else. So, and AB is, let's not even talk about it.
Once again, next week y'all got Cincy and we got Baltimore. So
we're going to get the win and y'all going to take the L.
We'll see. That's yet to be seen.
So we're going to have the same record next week. I'm just telling you. Just telling you right now.
See. Well,
all right.
Back to it.
Pastor Jeff, we are in the members only theme. And let's take it to the next level. We are talking.
I'm sorry, y'all. This is some of the best cherry Pepsi
Is that some
I
of
have
the
ever
best
had in my
It's
life.
chilled just to the right.
Oh my God. Lord,
Listen.
have mercy.
Cherry Pepsi, please sponsor us. Send us some money. $5, $10, $25 a week. This is religiously incorrect. This is the hottest religiously incorrect podcast. Is this the You Got the Right One, baby?
I don't know.
Was that Ray Charles?
That was Tyrese. Tyrese.
No, when he was singing on the bus. Yeah. Okay, so here's the word for this session, Jeff. Church hoppers.
You put your right foot
You put your right tambourine in.
and yeah. Okay.
Church hoppers. Okay, here's my question for you, Jeff. Define a church hopper.
Define a church hopper.
We're
That
gonna
is
get
a
in trouble
serious definition problem.
I'm gonna sip my Pepsi tea.
It's a serious definition problem because I don't even know if you can. I don't even know if you can.
No,
define
try.
If you wanted to, if I was to define a church hopper, I would say it is a single individual that goes from place to place and never find a home. Always shows up somewhere, but never calls that somewhere their home.
So your definition might be a church hopper is a person who never actually joins.
A church hopper is someone who never actually joined, but not only never actually joins, but continues to
From place to place.
Following the fad.
Okay, so that has a place in it. They're going from one place to another. Word.
Following the prophetic word, following the wind of the Lord.
They might just be following their own needs. Like, I got what I needed here. Mm-hmm. I'm in a different phase. And that's how it would be described. I mean, we looked up online. You did the question online. I don't even think we need to refer to it because we kind of know what was said if you want to read a few of those. But some people talk about needing things in different phases of life. Right. Okay, what can you be a church hopper if you've joined and then 2 years later you're a member somewhere else? And next year you're a member somewhere else.
That's
3 years later
that's another definition of a church hopper.
Okay.
There's definition one.
So we got a few levels here. We got a few levels.
That's the whole.
I'm gonna add a third one. The third. Okay, so we have the one who's someone who's a member of no one's church, goes places occasionally, might plug in and just kind of go somewhere for 6 months or 3 months and be there. Then another person, level 2, would be somebody who is joining and has seemed to have joined. Let's just say an inordinate amount of churches in a short period. It's like having too many jobs in one short period of time. You know? Okay, the third is the free agent servant.
Okay, so
the free agent servant. They have some gift, some talent, and they didn't just go and attend somewhere. They didn't just join somewhere, but they're almost not even for hire because some of them don't even get paid. But they will be on this one's praise team for a year. Yeah. They'll be on that one's band for a year. They're partnering with evangelism over here for a while. They're gifted at what they do, and they're often very gifted at what they do. In the music world in particular, we have this thing about church musicians who hop around and go for the highest bidder or whatever. Now, I will say as a former musician and, playing for my dad for years and just knowing a lot of guys, a lot of that has come out of how churches have treated them. And so you develop a callousness towards the ministry that has not taken you seriously as a person and exploited your gifts and taken all extra. So musicians can be kind of a different kind of a category sometimes, in a lot of churches. But the free agent is the one who has gifts and is ready to serve. They're not just receiving, they're actually giving, but they're again, it might be a highest bidder thing. It might be a most, like you said, faddish kind of thing, but they're actually serving. Absolutely. They're in front. They're putting a t-shirt on. They are.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you.
Some of them are somebody's church role and serving at somebody else's.
But I'm going to be honest with you, Pat. Pastor Todd, I have a problem. That's probably one of my biggest pet peeves is when somebody comes over to say, I'm just over to help you out for a while.
Help you out. Help can be toxic. And I've had help that I desperately needed. And I have some brothers who I love to this day. We are blood brothers. And in a time of need, when we needed certain gifts, I'm here to help you. But you also can feel like that help simply allows them to never have a real tie and loyalty, because I was only here to help. And that almost gives room. And I'm sorry, can we stop acting like people don't lie or misrepresent themselves, or might be maybe even delusional about the Lord told me to move on, or my season is up here. And again, it might not be nefarious, but I feel like because that's the vernacular of our culture, the vernacular of the spiritual culture, of the kingdom culture, we say it when we feel a shift, and that shift might not be a God shift. It might just be a personal shift.
Absolutely.
I don't feel so comfortable. And it's like my car, man. I had to put my car in the shop. Okay, my car is only 6 months old.
Right.
Or, so I had it for 6 months. Brand new 2019, The new car smell is gone. The French fries, the muddy nights, the rainy nights. When I got in that new loaner car for 2 days, and that fresh scent, I was like, I want this back. Where is the magical spray that will give me this new car? A lot of people shift because the new car or the new church smell has faded. And now, just like in your natural car, the French fries and, and the outdoors and the dirt and the grime have taken over, and now you've got to bring in artificial things to make it feel fresh, but it doesn't have that fresh. So you have to go somewhere where it might not be brand new, but it's fresh to you.
But sooner or later,
that's gonna happen again.
But that lends itself to the fact that that's why church hoppers come about. Church hoppers are nothing but leased vehicles.
Leased
vehicles.
Pastor Jeff said church hoppers. I see Mike reaching for the mic. Big Mike. Church hoppers are leased vehicles. Now, before he's just for ouch. Now, y'all can be mad if you want to, but this is religiously incorrect. We coming incorrect. Leased vehicles. Come on now.
In leased vehicles just says
you never actually belong to us.
You're never actually you want to continue to have that new car smell. So you're going to keep it for 3 years, and after 3 years, no matter how much you like this car, I'm not buying it. No matter how much you loved it when you first got it, I'm not buying. I need the next latest thing out.
So the person isn't the leased vehicle. The church is the leased vehicle.
Wow, yes. The church is the leased vehicle.
Let me upgrade you. and let's be honest. I mean, again, the consumeristic culture of the modern church has created and sometimes perpetuated this. And let's be honest, we are the reason people feel comfortable. Now, I heard a pastor say, when somebody moves on from your ministry, don't be bitter, don't do this, don't do that. Then he started to speak about, how in the old days you used to have to have a letter and an approval from a pastor, to move on. A couple questions entered into my mind when I read that. Number one, you're right. Nobody should be bitter about someone leaving, but perhaps you might be invested in them and concerned about them, and that does cause distress to the leader and the church. Maybe they left under terms people don't understand or know about, and it wasn't great. I heard in Sonda that we've all said that when you go tell a story about your pastor, don't forget to tell them about all the times they helped you and were there for you and all that. The second question that came to mind off of that post about, that is that old school manner of needing permission and a letter. That kind of speaks to the control issues that people have shied away from. So ain't nobody about to ask permission. No, very few people are going to any kind of pastor and even saying, you know what, I feel my season is up here. Nobody's even doing that. The third thing that came to mind was, do you know of any people in your congregation right now who might have come to you from another place, and did you check them before they shook your hand?
Very few. And
ask them if wherever they came from, if they left right, or how many churches have you been a part of in the last 5 years? or whatever, qualifying questions? Or did you just receive them in their gift and their money and their presence, and now you want to lecture? And I'm not saying you're lecturing on, I don't want to put that on anybody like, in a negative thing. But the ideals are great until the reality sets in. And most of us are not stopping them and saying, by the way, where was your membership at? When's the last time you went there? Have you spoken to your pastor? Do they even know you're gone? Da-da-da-da-da.
And some of us really might need to. So we don't know. You don't know what you get into.
Can we get some background checks in the church? Can we get a Carfax for members? Can we get a church fax?
One of the things
I've been wrecked 5 times.
Honestly, one of the things I learned honestly is at my job. Mike works with me. When we call off, we have to call off to the security guard, which makes it easier because you're never accountable to the foreman. You never have to tell the foreman exactly. When I used to have to call off at other jobs, I had to tell my foreman exactly. Your call off was a lot harder,
right?
Because
you knew come up with something.
Yeah, you knew you was letting the foreman down. But when you have to tell the security, I don't care about the security guard. He gonna tell the foreman.
Right. And just in general, that idea that the accountability equals control, I think, permits hopping more.
Absolutely.
And what we said just a little bit earlier, I don't believe God is schizophrenic. I don't believe anybody has to be stuck somewhere for 30 years, but I'm not so sure you need to be a part of a new church every 3 months, every 3 years. I'm not even so sure if you need to be visiting that many churches to hear that many words because I'm a little concerned about a modern church that's got more word available to it by some of the greatest voices of a generation, yet we are still living beneath our means. And I said to in one of my Bible studies, I said, perhaps it's because we keep taking on message after message after message and not actually taking the time to apply any of them. It might take you a month to apply what your pastor and your church is preaching, or if you be following somebody on Facebook and maybe they've been on a series that they're teaching a certain principle, you've literally watched 7 different sermons in the span of 72 hours. How do they really create a spirit of discipline and longevity?
The problem becomes, my mother used to always tell me, eat before you leave home. Because if you don't eat before you leave home, you're going to eat anything that anybody gives you.
Yes.
And what happens is, if you don't understand the vision and the direction that God has for your home, and you're going every other place, now you're going to start getting mad at your pastor.
Right.
Like they're not doing what this other pastor is doing. Well, that's not the vision God has for this house.
I could say about church hopping what I could say about a lot of things. For the people who say that it's legitimate to do, or God just happened to lead me this many places in this span of time. Number one, there's way too many people claiming that. I feel like some might have that story, but it should probably, if you live in a locality, in one home, in one city, you probably have a place that God has called you to, and it's probably not 5 different places in 7 years.
Right.
Let's just be honest. It's probably not. But that personal, prophetic, super spiritual vernacular has all given us a dictionary to pull from. And then who are you to question me? Because God speaks to me. And I'm sorry, sometimes I'm like, if God is speaking to you, then there would be genuine fruit out of that. And that fruit would not be, I got what I needed. Because that seems to be the only fruit we really care about.
I'm going to get to these questions, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it how I feel and how I believe, because this is religiously incorrect. This is religiously incorrect.
He already called y'all leased vehicles, so what can he say from here?
Here it is. If you are going to 5 or 6 or 7 different churches, and every church that you're going to has a problem, it's probably not the church. It's you. It's probably not the church.
Somebody actually said that to me. Like they were having a problem with me, and they're like, it's just like at my last church, and the church before that, and the church before that. And I'm like, yeah, I suddenly feel a lot better about the situation now. I was literally feeling guilty until they went down the whole resume, and I was like, yeah, okay.
Once again,
peace be with you.
It's back to us not doing the background checks, though.
But can you? Did they tell you the truth at the beginning? I mean, come on, man. Did the resumes ever match the performance?
Let's just be honest, because every church, or mostly every pastor and more. So I know that this member, And most of the time they tell us where they came from.
Right.
I know where you came from. It would not hurt us for me to call and say, hey, Pastor Todd, such and such just came.
What you want me to say though, man?
Huh?
What you want me to say when they call
Honesty.
though, man?
Let's just be honest.
This person tore my
hey,
church
man,
up.
Let's just be honest, man. They're coming over here. Am I going to have problems with them? Or are they good members? Did they leave right?
What if they're great for you, but they weren't for me?
Yeah, that's a whole different story, though.
But I tell you some story that is totally true, but they might have an opposite experience with you.
And it could be true, but at least you know.
That's true.
On
You know
the
what to
front
look
end,
out for.
on the front end, you know.
And can we stop acting like we're too spiritual to just need to know some things? I mean, well, the Lord should tell you. If Bob knows, then the Lord don't need to tell me. I mean, let's take that off his plate. I'm just saying, if Pastor Jeff knows that Sister Betsy Sue is a mess, then that's one less thing I got to get on my face about, because God already gave me, you might not like my theology, but I believe God works through people.
Absolutely.
And he could have already given me and a fellow pastor what I needed to know, that we always, lean on. Well, you should have discerned that this is, but the information was right there.
It was right there. We just
So how about we stop pushing that on ourselves and God when it's right here? And so let's get to some of the comments, some of the things that are
I
said.
posted this question
a
couple years ago, and some of these answers, and they were phenomenal. I mean, it was a great post, and so I just want to just revisit some of these. Alexander Burkett, my boy Big Al from Youngstown, said, I don't believe it's a hopper if you visit a different church every week and getting the word of God and its understanding. Then I say go for it. It's all different reasons. Choir might be better. Different strokes for different folks.
What do you think about that, Jeff? I don't think it's church hopping if you go to a different church every week and get the word.
I mean, honestly, and I will say this.
Can we qualify it down first before you say that? Let's say every place has a word.
Every place.
So we're not saying that anything is garbage or that it's bad. So every place does have a word, and the person does get the word. So what's your response?
I mean, it's simple, to be honest with you. It's simple. I love my mother's macaroni and cheese.
Here we go.
So regardless of whoever has macaroni and cheese, I'd rather eat mama's macaroni and cheese.
I want to try mama's macaroni and cheese today. My friend's macaroni and cheese tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Chick-fil-A's new macaroni and cheese on Wednesday.
Popeyes.
You know what I'm saying? Does Popeyes have mac and cheese yet?
Probably. Everybody got it.
Okay. Biblically, does that make sense?
It does. To me, it doesn't make sense. To me, and I'm not saying you're going to hell because you visit in different churches every Sunday.
Can that person effectively serve or be attached
What are you serving?
To a group of people in covenant if you're going somewhere every week?
You can't. You can never legitimately find fellowship.
As long as you're doing that.
As long as you're doing that.
If you cease to do that and found some place, it could be.
Sooner or later.
Okay, Big Al.
Now, sometimes, I mean,
if it's a season, I can get it.
Right.
If you're just like in between and you're searching. So I'm not saying it's searching or seeking God.
See, because this is what we'll do. This is what we'll do. Let's just be honest. We'll tell our daughters, date around. Don't get serious. Don't, see what you like. See what you like.
A lot of fish in the sea.
Yeah, it's a lot of fish in the sea.
Right.
Well,
right.
And that's okay, like you said, for a season.
Church the place
but sooner or later, you want to get married.
I'm like, London, you 42. You're still dating around. What's wrong with you?
Dad, you told me.
Listen, I saw at least 3 dudes that were halfway decent. What's your problem?
Do we got to go back to old school arranged marriages?
Right. Because I'll set a girl up in a second, especially my own. Okay.
Next one. My buddy Marty Conger, who...
Marty.
I don't even want to see him tomorrow. Marty, I'm sorry. You won yesterday.
Is this a work buddy?
Yeah, he won yesterday.
Okay.
I feel that being a member of a church gives me a sense of church family, and I have trust in my pastoral staff. And he goes to your church.
Okay. He goes to Victory. Let's shout him out.
Victory.
He goes to
Victory.
Shout out to Victory. We love Victory.
I think occasionally it's good to sit in on another church service to get a different take on maybe a same scripture or passage. As you know, you can read the same verse, chapter, or book 1,000 times. And for me, I can take something different from it every time. Listening and learning from various pastors is educational and helps one grow in all area of one's life.
I agree to a point. The only thing I'll pick at the part about going to hear somebody preach on the same thing. How do you know they're preaching on the same thing? Like, did you listen? You don't. So I get the sentiment. So I won't be petty. Right. So I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I think people kind of understand where our opinions kind of lie. Right. But we do give some opportunity for differing opinions. One thing. So here's one of my things. Preachers, the idea of being a part of a church. Does it rob us of the opportunity to be shepherds if the sheep are in different folds?
Absolutely.
Every couple of weeks, months, or years. Because I mean, when you're a shepherd, because we got to stop calling. If we're not going to allow ourselves to be shepherded, which means you are literally raised from a baby calf up to a full-grown sheep, and at different stages of life. But honestly, if we're using the biblical model, since this is what y'all want, I ain't got no scripture for you, but I'll just talk. That shepherd, whatever uses and phases of life, they usually happen under the same shepherd. Absolutely. Or the same shepherding model and within the same fold.
Well, and here's the question, because, and this is, let's just be honest, us as pastors, if we're using the biblical model, oftentimes we fall short because of our pride, because when one leaves the 99, we're supposed to go find it. So what do? I mean, are we just supposed to chase after you?
Oh, let me talk about that. But I heard that one good growing up. Dad would always say, I'm not gonna chase people down. Mm-hmm. God is the good shepherd. Jesus is the great shepherd. And that's not a euphemism for the pastor chasing down wayward members. The church fellowship in general should be seeking to draw people back in. I think that's a misnomer for people to think that the pastor should chase down people who have become unfaithful or who have hopped away or whatever. We can check on you and see how things are going. Right. But I've never taken that on as my responsibility. Absolutely. I take it on as a analogy of the love of God for us, that he would leave 99, but the 99 are never really left alone. Right. There are under shepherds, and there's a pen or a gate that keeps the rest of them in while he is doing his thing. Let's go.
Go ahead. One more thing about that. Here's one more thing, because the first thing they're going to say, the first thing everybody who leaves is going to say is that the pastor never called and checked on them.
Didn't hear from the pastor. Or I've been gone and nobody called. I've been gone for 3 weeks and y'all ain't called for me.
But you've been churching. You hear from the church, the place you hop to.
Yeah, you didn't call me either.
Okay. Robert Jenkins, Apostle Jenkins, says, you can't say that you are a child of God and then say that you are homeless and growthless. Ooh. And we not ask, where are your parents? Does God not place you or lead you to a place that is equipped and concerned about your growth? When Paul was blinded by the light, he was also led to the prophet.
That is true.
God always provides a place for growth for his children. But the truth is that the love in the house has been lacking and abuse has been given, and we have become the runaway shelter and not a home. That's a lot.
There's a lot to unpack, and I think it speaks for itself. I do like what he said about, and the Bible does speak to these things about, hey, honor those who have rule over you. They have watch over your souls and all that. I can't do that if you don't give me charge of you. If you don't give me charge of you. So church is the one unique place where, like, if my kid goes to school, they don't get to choose their teacher or their principal. The principal has control of them.
That's right.
If I go get hired at a job, I usually don't choose my manager or my boss. They're placed over me. The church is the one place where you decide who is going to have charge over you, but it's also your decision to allow them to maintain charge over you by you being in a vicinity of them to have charge over you.
Wow.
So, when they walked down the aisle, we talked about membership, they came in here and said, I want to be a part of this. They came in here and said, I want to be a part of this, specifically under this leader, specifically under this. They looked around and saw who was sitting up there. They listened to the sermons. They probably know a little something about the personality, hopefully. For us to jump away and remove from from this, it's difficult for me. It really is. And I mean, I feel it's detrimental to the church altogether, because no church can be strong without, and the ministry can't be effective without bonds being built over time that can be strengthened, and then people develop and grow. And some people are not outgrowing church. They're developing new ideas that they want to not be accountable for what they're doing, or they've some people who've been in church for a long time have sucked into that consumeristic ideal. And some people just want to test the waters. Should you really be trying out churches? Really?
Let me go here, because he talks about this, and we're going to get one more by our friend Avery Danage.
Pastor Danage? Yes.
He says, I concur with much of what Jinx has posted, but allow me to push it a bit further. Acts 6 is our model for church discussion, models and the actual institution. Following this model, people who church hop do so without a lack of understanding surrounding the model and mobility of the church. Church hopping disrupts the unification of the body, making my decision to be part of the body bigger than me. I believe church hopping is when a person bounces from church to church to avoid accountability, avoid submission to proven and faithful leadership, and a selfish desire to have their way. Church hopping isn't new. Paul and Apollos went through this. The larger question for churches and church hoppers is, how do we carry out the biblical mandate of unification if we perpetuate behaviors that disrupt the unity of the church? Church hopping robs everyone of the gift inside of the individual and how that gift completes the body. Here it is. If a man or woman jumped from person to person, we would call them a
hoe.
He got star. I don't know what toss.
I know what the word is. It's hoe. We're religiously incorrect. I'm sorry. In the King James Version, whoredom. They've been given over to whoredoms. That's my favorite phrase in the Bible. Did you know that? I can't even read it in church because I'll start laughing. Watch over your children lest they be given over to whoredoms. And you know, I've been praying for my kids, Lord. Don't let them be given over to whoredoms. Or there's another scripture that says they go a whoring. That's even worse. Don't let my family go a whoring. It's like trick or treating.
Complete control.
It's like trick or treating for jump offs. A whoring. Go ahead, read your serious.
I can't even remember what he said from the beginning. It was such a great post and I lost it.
No, it was good. It was good. We're coming down on our time. All right, just to summarize, I get it. The church is robbed of its gifts. There's instability all around. But there are people who just won't feel that way. They'll feel, I am totally stable. Everywhere I've gone has been blessed by my presence, and I've been blessed by being there. Yeah. If God tells me to get up 7 times in 7 months, I'm going to do what he says, because I'll be serious. I'll be obedient to him.
I'm following the wind of the Lord.
I'm following the wind.
God is telling me where to go. I'm being led by God. And my question is, just to be honest with you, how is God talking to you so much?
My grandmama would say, good missionary Christine D. Simpson would say, I never heard of the Lord talking to so many people at the same time and saying so many different things. That's what she would say. I never heard of so many people who the Lord is speaking to and saying so many. And I'm not saying that there are not multiple words for different contexts. It's just like, it sounds like we just playing bumper cars with the prophetic word. And it's literally creating that in the church. And those feelings we talked about earlier, it hurts everybody. And people are like, well, forget your feelings. Man, no, that's what covenant and relationship are supposed to do. And Jeff, can I finish this up with a preaching point?
Please do.
How can we keep saying that it's not about church, it's about relationship, when we keep breaking relationships every time we get one built up? How are you building a relationship with God and God's people if you are in and out of relationships? How is that possible? Shouldn't there be some stability and steadfastness and longevity to a relationship? And is it just with Jesus, or is it supposed to be horizontal too?
It should be horizontal. It should be vertical. It should be both ways. Yeah, it's a cross. But come on now, take me to the cross. Here's the thing. Listen, you cannot be a good leader if you are not a good follower. Stop going to these churches thinking because they did not make you a leader, you need to go over here. And so when you get over there, they didn't make you a leader, so you go over here. So you end up at a church that don't have any leadership, and you become the most valuable player and the worst team in the entire league.
The MVP of nothing. But seriously, it's not a bashing, and people are going to say, man, you were really bashing us. This is a trend that has gone on unchecked for a very long time. And you know what? The religiously correct thing to say is, well, if the Lord is leading you, then be obedient. The religiously incorrect thing might be to say, I don't think you heard him right. I don't think he said nothing at all. Mm-hmm. I think your friend or somebody saw you somewhere and your feelings told you. And it might not even be that. It might be, man, it's hopping over there. I feel dry over here. And, that's a whole other story for another day. But when are you going to be responsible for your own worship and your own growth and development? And not just, I'm not growing here. Mm-hmm. I'm not growing here anymore. And we start saying, I'm sorry, some of it's dumb. Well, if a shark is in a fish tank, it only grows 7 inches. But if it grows, it can grow 8 feet or long. No, it depends on the shark. Mm-hmm. And there are some sharks in the ocean that are still 8 inches long.
That's right.
And you can go to wherever you think it is, but I am a proponent of longevity. I am a proponent of steadfastness. And yes, everybody will have shifts. Pastors might have different calls.
That's right.
But a pastor shouldn't be in 9 different churches.
Absolutely not.
In 20 years.
Absolutely not.
That shouldn't happen. If you have 2 or 3 or 4 assignments over the course of your life, and they have all value, I understand that. But this whole, I'm over here now, I think that is detrimental and destructive. And I would like to see us be more accountable to one another and to God. Amen. And then just be honest. Just be honest, man. Music ain't hitting over here. And I heard they was jumping over there. This new church opened up, or I want to be there. I don't want to be Baptist no more. I don't, I want to wear pants now, so I'm going to leave the holiness church. Whatever it is, just say honest. What you want to say.
Listen, thank you all. Please leave a comment. We appreciate you. Please leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about
it. Say mean things, but don't go a-whoring. Yeah. Whatever you do,
don't go
a-whoring. Don't be giving over to whoredoms. Listen, this is Religiously Incorrect. We want to see you on YouTube, Facebook, iHeart Radio, Spotify, Apple Music, and every other platform. We appreciate you. We value you. And on behalf of myself and Pastor Jeff, we will see you next time.
God bless.